You are listening to Proof Text, a Glossa House podcast exploring Scripture with Dr. T. Michael W. Halcomb and Dr. Frederick J. Long. Welcome and enjoy.
Hello and welcome to Proof Text. I'm Michael Halcomb, and in this episode, I'm thinking about three things that I want to share with you. The first is about an organization that I've been working with for the last several years, teaching for them. It's called YWAM, stands for Youth with the Mission, and they're all over the place here in Hawaii, but they even have a headquarters on the Big Island, another island from where I live. But they have a place here in Hawaii, on Oahu, and the Big Island, and all kinds of places. They're really all over the world, and so I'm really familiar with YWAM ships. It's a pretty cool organization. I teach in their BCC, I think is what they call it. It's like Bible Core Course or something like that, and they do all kinds of work. Like these students will come and learn how to do inductive Bible study, and then what they'll do is a lot of them will like go off to college, but a bunch of them will go to other parts of the world and start ministries there. Like some are literally like starting ship ministries where they go into like remote places and do medical work and share the gospel through word and deed. Others are starting like Bible study schools. I just met somebody who's starting one in Greece, and man, they're doing all sorts of really cool things with this YWAM organization. Now they're very charismatic compared to what I'm used to, but that doesn't matter. We work together, and there's an ecumenical spirit, and I'll be teaching the Gospel of Mark for the one on our island here very, very soon. And I'm excited about that and stoked about that. So if you haven't ever heard of YWAM, check them out. Just Google it. Even Google YWAM ships and check that out. You may know somebody, a young person or even an old person who's interested. Another thing that I was thinking about, I used to pastor in Kentucky in this small town called Sadieville. And I remember, right, if you we did communion every week, and there used to be a communion table, and engraved into the front of the communion table was "This do in remembrance of me." Right, another way of saying every time you take communion, remember me, like Jesus is saying, right? But I remember that there had been a minister there who had been there for decades, and his wife wanted to do something to commemorate his memory, right? And so did something that was pretty funny, that I've never seen since, and I kind of hope I'll never see anywhere else. She got communion trays, because the little cups were like down in the little holes of the communion trays that fit about 20 or 30 little communion cups in there, and then the bread pieces like Tic Tac size were in the center. So you'd grab your little Tic Tac size piece of bread and then your little tiny cup, and then you'd eat and drink in unison. But as you went to grab your piece of bread and your cup, all the way around the perimeter of the communion tray was the phrase, "This do in memory of Frank Veach," or in beloved memory of Frank Veach, or something like that. Who was the former pastor. And yeah, I couldn't believe that. Still can't believe that. Bless her heart, at least to say in Kentucky, for wanting to honor him. But yeah, I trust that if you're listening to this story, you get why I'm able to laugh at that someone, meaning no disrespect, but it's just kind of funny. Yeah. So don't do that in your churches where you serve. Don't let others do it either. Another thing that I've been thinking about is that as a professor, I work really hard to make sure that I have a no stress or a stress-free classroom. It's super important to me that when students come in, like it's totally disarmed, right? They feel absolutely safe and comfortable, especially in my language classes. I get to be the chief screw up, the chief idiot, the chief mess up, and I want them to model after me in that regard. On other ways that I have found to relieve that stress, especially in the language classroom, is to not have quizzes or exams, because that actually goes against the process of language learning in a lot of ways. You have to mess up to be successful in learning a language, and on quizzes and tests, you can't mess up. So we find other ways to do grades, like having a short conversation or participation, attendance, all sorts of other ways to engage in successful grading and measure progress. But I've found that those two things, and going light on homework, or making the homework as fun as possible, those are means of relieving stress. And if you're a teacher, professor, an educator, encourage you, just toy with that. How can you create a stress-free environment? Hey, if you're a preacher, the same thing goes for that, or a teacher in a Sunday school class, or a small group leader. Yeah, stress-free group settings and classrooms. Those are three things that I'm thinking about. YWAM, those communion trays, and no stress classrooms. Yeah, all right. Hope that helps.
Interested in growing your ancient language skills but not sure where to start? Glossa House can help. From illustrated readers and short stories to lexicons and grammars, Glossa House offers a variety of resources for beginning, intermediate, and experienced ancient language learners. Head to glossahouse.com today. Glossa House, language resources for the global community.